Oh, yes, okay. Greetings from the darkest corners of the web. 'Tis I, the Quartering Duke, Queen of Cyberspace. Okay, Queen. Okay, didn't. Cool. Yeah, didn't realize. Today I have an important topic for all you young ones across the country. To be precise, it is time we discussed workaholics. What do you imagine when you hear the word workaholic? Surely nothing positive, yes? But as they say, even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. Therefore, being a workaholic is not necessarily a bad thing. Take my dearest friend, Uncle Workaholic. Yeah, I guess he's... I was thinking, like, maybe he's not tied to the Quartering Duke, and this is just a thing, and you know, because he's got a good... He's doing it for a good reason, but no, apparently he is. He had no purpose in life before he began pencil pushing. He couldn't even sleep, haunted by past traumas. Upon finding work at an unethical company, his life turned around. Every day he'd come home dog-tired and sleep without a second to spare for the past. In other words, some among us find inner peace through the practice of being a workaholic. Ugh, all this acting like a proper lady is too much effort and way too boring. Enough of this. Look, the point is that Uncle Workaholic got by without having to dwell on his worries and woes after becoming a workaholic. So you might want to think about it, if it's really worth it to have so much free time to yourself. Understood? I'm talking to you, got it? Day in and day out and day in and day out and day in and day out. Okay, that's enough of that. A lot of those. Talking to you in your daily stream of worries and woes.
Okay, I'm just gonna step away real quick. I just need to use the bathroom.
Okay, yep. We proceed down the hidden passageway in pursuit of Workaholic. As we do, I notice a clear change in our surroundings. There's another path. Why did this happen? Workaholic detective's an old hand around here. I'm sure he could handle opening and closing a few secret paths. He might have used this passage when he brought me into the labyrinth, too. Let's go and keep an eye out for traps. We proceeded with caution down this new route that appeared at the end of the passage the white SPX emerged from. I then realized that I've naturally taken up leading the group. Why are we allowing a commoner to lead us? Obviously it is I, our chief, who should be taking the spot where you now stand. Yes, Miss literally did nothing. But think about what our tiny chief here has accomplished so far. Isn't incompetent the one who exposed Downtown and Workaholic? Well, you see... I really don't care either way. There could be traps, so watch your step. I step between Posh and Renegade, interrupting their discussion. Our group can't rest for even a second without arguing. If only Workaholic were to mediate. The thought of his estrangement makes me sigh. Including Senior Detective, there are 14 Detective Alliance members here. Now we're at 8. Whittled down to nearly half. I refuse to lose any more of my companions. We can't afford to lose anyone else. Oh. You're really starting to look like a detective now. These ordeals have truly made you stronger. I still have a long ways to go. If you hadn't spoken up back when Workaholic snapped at me, I wouldn't have known what to do. Plus, I want to get stronger. Strong enough to protect everyone. Far, far stronger. If anyone can do it, it's you. I, the world's greatest detective, will vouch for that. As we continue conversing, a light shines at the end of the passage. Then we cross through it. Despite having already shared my story, the other's eyes grow wide at the extraordinary sight. Wow, it's like some sort of lost ruin. These mures smell earthy. They call to mind the cavern where I performed my ascetic training. These walls, they weren't made in recent times. It would require a detailed analysis, but at first glance they appear to be over 100 years old. 100 years old? Why would an underground tunnel like this be created in the first place? Perhaps it was used by a Caldera religion? Asked the girl, mentioning some knowledge she had encountered in the past. A Caldera religion? What's that? You really are clueless. This place is practically awash with mountains, remember? That's because the entire island is what remains of a major eruption. Such volcanic activity leaves large depressions, much like fallen meteorites. The resulting formation is known as a caldera, the kind-hearted girl explained gently to the ignorant, empathetic, incompetent detective. Now that you mention it, when I woke up on this island, I could hear the waves, but I never saw the ocean. I get it now. It's because I was walled in on all sides, in a manner of speaking. Wait, but the manor is built on a mountain right in the center, right? Isn't it strange for that to be on an island made by a volcanic eruption? Apparently, that mountain is also a volcano, one that just erupted a few decades ago. This place was built on something that dangerous? I didn't even know you could have a volcano inside a volcano. Wait, what? Is that text right? Yep, another eruption occurred within the caldera, creating a rare double caldera. Okay, that is what it meant to say. I've traveled the world, but this is only the second one I've seen. You can cook so much with the geothermal energy these islands produce. It's an epicure stream. I wonder if this maze has someplace I can cook. Moving on past the endlessly hungry old bag, caldera formations on islands like these often become an object of worship in many places, especially those with a double caldera. Former inhabitants would have seen it as a divine abode, so it's only natural they'd leave traces behind. It's not uncommon to hear stories of religious devotees fleeing to uninhabited islands to form villages in the face of governmental oppression.
Alright, I'm back.
Nice. These ruins could have functioned both as a holy ground for the original islanders, as well as a hiding spot for emergencies.
Emergencies?
Like for when the government hunted them down. You know how it goes, don't you? Death to heretics and all that.
What are all of you blathering on about? This is why I find the hoi polloi so utterly detestable.
They say things and I don't have ears to hear them with. You probably shouldn't charge on ahead like that, Posh. Remember how many traps there were in the manor?
The subpar traps in this maze will be laughably simple to avoid for one so gifted with upper-class intellect as myself. Hey, you're just a fucking idiot.
Yeah,
That's
really.
Now, full speed ahead. Follow my lead, and let us capture that dastardly workaholic detective.
No, wait. Try to stop her, but she runs ahead into the passageway alone, disappearing around the bend. This maze isn't as easy to traverse as she thinks. We're just not about to shout this out to her.
What is this monstrosity doing here?
Posh's desperate, panicked cry reverberates throughout the labyrinth. She then shoots out from the corner she had just disappeared behind. Right behind her is a white SPX. The SPX presses forward with a mechanical whir. Before my brain can process anything, I shout out a command. Hecky, analyze that sound. Huh? Leave it to me. Okay, I've analyzed it. The hint this time is do not cross this bridge. I've heard that phrase before somewhere. It's from a Japanese tale where the word bridge is purposely misconstrued as edge. Hit the center hole, said the girl, rapidly decoding the riddle. Roger that. Time to dig in for a second helping with my trusty knife.
Wait, Gourmet, I sense danger. This SPX is definitely armed with deadly weaponry.
They all are.
Armor, I'll swap with Posh and act as a decoy. Can you use that time to stop this thing?
Verily, my good man.
Dolful, what are you planning to do? Tosh, keep running and get behind armor. Over here, you bucket of bolts.
Doleful tosses pebbles at the SPX, running sideways as he waves it at it. The SPX then appears to switch targets from Posh, swiveling around to chase after Doleful.
I'm sorry I called you that!
Don't apologize to it. The SPX bears down relentlessly on Doleful, aiming for its unprotected flank. Armor tackles the SPX with all his might, and pushes it all the way to the wall, pinning it in his grasp. I've got it!
I don't sense any threats. Now's your chance, Gourmet.
Now here's a dish to die for. Gourmet closes the gap in a flash, sliding next to the SPX and sticking your knife into the central hole on its exterior. The SPX's resistance steadily wanes. Just like back in the dungeon, its inner electrical cable must have been severed. Armor doesn't release his hold until the SPX stops twitching. Finally lets go and steps away from the machine. Oh, we did it! You're all fantastic. It was all because of your swift commands, Incompetent. Thanks to you, I was able to start analyzing the sound without delay. I'd say you did well for someone so incompetent, as it were, said the girl, sharing her honest impression. No, it was no big deal. I was freaking out too. The fact that you were able to give such optimal orders in a pinch proves that you have the qualities of a good chief. Not to mention, the way Techie followed your instructions without hesitation shows how much he trusts you. This is the fruit of all your labors. You should give yourself a pat on the back.
Gourmet is absolutely right. You saved me so many times now, Incompetent. I'd like to thank you with all my heart. Your orders are so precise. It almost makes me think you can predict the future. It's almost like...
It's almost like maybe you can. Obviously, I'm not going to admit his hunch is the truth. So instead, I give him the only thing I can. A strained laugh.
I suck.
We all just saw the vast difference a commoner's leadership offers. Wouldn't you agree?
Silence, you!
How's it going, Doleful? Anything unusual here?
Nope, this room seems to be safe. Come on in, everyone. Though, unfortunately, it's a dead end. We'll have to look for another route.
Huh? After exiting the intricate passageway, we find ourselves in a closed-off square room. It's identical to the one I was in before, making my way back to the dungeon half a day ago, save for one significant change. That's weird. Last time I was in this room, there were open paths on all four sides.
There could be any number of rooms in this place that look the same. Let's mark a wall so we know we've been here, just in case.
Verily, I shall carve the Detective Alliance's emblem in full splendor right here. What, ho? Sir Incompetent, might I ask you to come hither? There are strange characters engraved into the wall in your armor. I've never seen writing like this. What language could it be? As far as I can tell, they don't match any known script from any era of humanity, said the girl, cross-referencing with her own recollection. If even Bookworm doesn't have any insight on these characters, then in all probability it's either an original language or a cipher. Why would a cipher be left here?
Typical plebeian. as alarmingly dense as ever. The last time you were here, incompetent, the path continued in 4 directions, yes?
That's right. It's why I had a hard time deciding which way to go to get back to you all.
Now pay attention. Upon closer inspection, do you spy the faint indentations on all 4 walls? They likely indicate that each wall can be moved as such. Performing some action should cause the paths you previously saw to reappear. The cipher that Armor found is the key to opening them, beyond a doubt. We must solve it in order to proceed.
I see. I see. This labyrinth is feeling more and more like something out of a movie. Posh's theory may just be right on the mark. Workaholic was in league with whoever confined me in this dungeon as well as this labyrinth all those years ago. He'd know how to work the hidden passages here. If he sealed the way behind him to shake us off, that explains why the rooms look different this time. Workaholic must have closed the passages. We gotta solve the puzzle quick if we're going to keep up with him.
Leave it to me. On the honor of the Pinkerton name, I shall make short work of this cipher.
This is getting interesting. I wonder if it'll really be so easy. We can't pursue Workaholic unless we solve the cipher. We've got to figure it out somehow. The boxes around each section indicate that there are 1 unit each, right?
Yeah, that makes sense, but something's off about it.
Off how?
This is probably a made-up language, with its own rules and everything. But right now, I can't even figure out a single one of them.
There are a few shared elements. They appear in the character's upper and lower segments both, with no pattern, said the girl to her own dismay.
So Bookworm's powers of recollection came to the same conclusion as me. I tried to make sense of the commonalities too, but it feels almost random.
That being said, things would hurry along nicely if Posh Detective could solve this for us. Out this sweet, said the girl with a sardonic smirk. It's fine. If we all work together on this, Posh included, of course, I'm sure we can figure it out. Several hours later, we're still studying the cipher on the wall. Each of us had tried to deduce the rules of the script, but we still don't have even the slightest clue. Things have been on the move non-stop since Roddy's murder this morning, and everybody is exhausted. My own forehead is streaming with perspiration.
I'm sorry, incompetent. I'm going to take a little break.
Me seems it is oddly warm in here. For adventure, it is all in my mind. No, it's getting hot for me too. I wonder why. The dungeon was chilly, but this underground labyrinth is strangely humid. Maybe there's a heater on somewhere. It feels like a sauna set to mild. If we push ourselves too hard, we could end up collapsing from heat stroke.
God, to think a cipher so lowly could stymie the heir to the Pinkerton name. Man, she is just failure after failure.
I was assuming that the whole point of them doing this was to finally give her something to do. Like, oh man, she's actually really good at ciphers. But no.
Nah, she's just terrible at everything.
Still useless.
Yeah.
Only Posh manages to still maintain her composure. She's been glaring at the cipher in this heat for hours, even without even wiping the sweat from her brow. Okay, well, she's at least trying. Posh, how about taking a break? You've been drenched in sweat this whole time.
Oh, push tush. When I say I shall solve a cipher, I mean it.
What strained determination. Makes me tingle and all, but I'm gonna have to take a breather. Wouldn't want to shave any years off my life. As Renegade Detective sits on the floor, all the other detectives, aside from Posh, follow suit, looking completely and utterly spent. Posh frowns in consternation at everyone else's behavior, refusing to take a seat. She continues staring at the cipher.
Do as you will. Unlike you common rabble, I have an aspiration I aim to fulfill. Think that I could be stalled here. I simply must find a way to find a way out alive.
Useless old hag, said the girl with more than a hint of cynicism.
I agree.
Don't say that. Posh is doing the best she can.
Even her
Yeah.
best.
I shut down Bookworm's comment and move her far away from Posh so that her voice is out of earshot. You're too kind and competent, detective. Selfish crones like her deserve a good clobbering, said the girl, hefting her weapon of choice. No clobbering allowed, and put down your book. Using it to hit people is just messed up. No good adults always say no, 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 no. That's you right now, said the girl, making reference most kids would find obscure. Why did she care so much about her pride anyway? I can't comprehend it, said the girl, voicing a curiosity she's held for some time. She has a good point. I've been wondering the same. Posh's demeanor makes it clear she comes from a prestigious lineage. Why then would she willingly choose to expose herself to dangers of being a detective? It doesn't make any sense. Want your big sis to share what she knows with you? In secret, of course. Gourmet draws close to Bookworm as she makes her offer. We both nod, so Posh won't overhear, after which Gourmet begins speaking, her eyes distant. Do you two know about the Pinkerton Agency? Well, mostly just from books and movies, but yeah. Yeesh, sighed the girl before taking the reins from the clueless and competent detective and explaining the details. The renowned Pinkerton National Detective Agency, founded by Alan Pinkerton, who rose to prominence after preventing a presidential assassination. Their myriad achievements include presidential security, unmasking spies, surveying those who oppose the state, hunting criminals, and more. It must be an amazing organization if even presidents trust them. No wonder Posh is so proud. Yes, but those accomplishments are the result of them infiltrating the public on government orders to ruthlessly track down those deemed suspicious. That is why they're portrayed as villains in so many works. Evidently, the menacing image people had of them at the time was deeply rooted. For better or worse, this historic organization shaped the perception of the detective profession. That is the Pinkerton Agency's legacy. That's exactly right. You can't not mention the Pinkertons when it comes to discussing detective history. Those stories are way in the past, though. The agency's fame was slowly forgotten, and today it operates as an acquisition of a security company. What? Really? I guess even famous detective agencies can end up taking a dive. As modernization continued, intelligence work was outlawed and policing grew more robust. The state then cut ties with the publicly shunned agency. One theory suggests that the FBI was actually modeled after the Pinkerton Agency. Ironic how they did their utmost for their nation to great acclaim, only to be cast aside, said the girl, sympathetic toward the former heroes of old. I'm not here to argue whether they were heroes or villains, but the fact remains they solved many, many crimes. It's tragic how that fact's been forgotten. Posh said she grew up on tales of those bygone deeds. I can't even imagine how much it hurts her. That's why she decided to come to Japan to found a detective agency of her own. She's working hard to restore the Pinkerton name. Posh believes detectives are needed now more than ever, especially with the crime rate here rising yearly since the Dayless Night incident. Being ranked number 5 isn't just for show. Is it not? She's worked desperately to carry the illustrious Pinkerton name on her shoulders. That's the kind of girl Posh is. That desperation makes perfect sense, seeing as she's fighting for her own survival, said the girl, regretting her flippant remarks. If she dies, her dream of restoring her family's honor dies too. I glance at Posh from the side and spot traces of tears on her face. Normally, this would just make her seem tough, but now I think she looks like she's striving to overcome a hidden bitterness. Staring at her from this angle, I'm somehow reminded of Workaholic after he revealed his true colors. He was even known as Diabolic Detective before. What could have driven him to bloody his hands to kill her once again? He hasn't told us why yet, but it seems like he's grappling with a heavy weight of his own. Like Posh, there must be something he seeks to accomplish, even if it means committing murder.
I mean, nah, he just wanted to kill Renegade Detective, which I'm totally down for.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a good cause. The pride of a distinguished family. What's it like bearing the responsibility of an entire organization like that? Right now, I don't have any grand convictions or resolutions. There's no way I could ever be like Posh. But there is something even I can do. Well, I understand her circumstances now. Isn't she a bit too worn out and reliable to be the head of the company? The girl asked bluntly. Not quite. Apparently she normally investigates with colleagues who idolize her, so maybe she's a bit out of her element working on her own. In that case, I'll go and help her out. Incompetent? I rush over to Posh, unable to take it anymore. My sudden approach startles Posh, who blinks at me with a look of astonishment.
What do you think you're doing? I will not permit my noble self to be sullied by the aid of a commoner. Go rest with the young.
It's exactly because you're noble that you should be putting commoners like me to use.
What?
Isn't it the duty of the upper class to lead the masses? If there's a riddle you can't solve on your own, you should play the part of our chief and command me to investigate. Posh tilts her head in befuddlement.
What, in summary, are you proposing exactly?
Look, let me help spare the Pinkerton name from being soiled. As a matter of fact, having others assist you is what a true Pinkerton would do.
Oh, yes, I see.
Posh looks unsure, her head still tilted to one side. But after a moment, she smacks her hand with a sense of determination, flashing her usual prideful smile.
Quite right. Spot on even. Failing to delegate to commoners, why, I ought to be disowned from the Pinkerton household for this behavior. Well, incompetent, are you prepared to obey my commands and solve this riddle?
Posh's laughter echoes loudly across the room. Suffice it to say, she's back to her normal self. She seems a little too satisfied about this, said the girl, sighing in exasperation. No matter how quickly she gets discouraged, she always bounces right back. That's Posh's specialty. Well, ready to get back to it ourselves? I'm not about to let one little cipher serve me a slice of humble pie. An odd little jingle awakens me with a jolt. Once my mind is fully booted up, I see the cipher room we arrived in last night. My D-pad says it's 7 a.m. That melody must have been set to play so we don't lose track of time. We've been underground for several days now. It's nice to have something that keeps my body's rhythm from getting askew.
Good morning, Watto. Hickey, you were burning the midnight oil yesterday?
Were you not? Were you just sleeping? Yeah, I must have fallen asleep while we were staring at the cipher. I vaguely recall where we left off. We seemed to be getting closer, but couldn't quite hit on the solution. After I started to help out Posh, the others finished resting up and joined in. We then spent most of the night discussing the cipher. Fulcrum found some partial regularities, but they didn't apply to the entire text, so we have yet to piece things all together. Even Holmes has been racking her brain about this, saying she's never seen anything like it.
Morning, incompetent. Sorry, I guess I ended up falling asleep too.
Our self-proclaimed chief is also snoring away, so don't fret, said the girl, pointing out the plebeian manner in which posh detective slept. Posh is on the ground, her face turned toward the cipher as though she's trying to read it in her sleep. Even when passed out, she still has her head in the game. Talk about dedication. A laugh escapes from my mouth at the sight of it.
She looks pretty tired, so let's leave her be for now.
Right, maybe we can solve it while she's asleep and surprise her. And we will do it all in the glorious Pinkerton name, said the girl with a sarcastic chuckle. We resume working on the cipher, chatting away as we go. While we do...
Come on, split the cake. Half of you. For you. Half for me.
You're so upper class, why don't you each get your own cakes? Your true self is speaking out, bookworm.
Splitting cake, huh? Pinkertons really have fallen on hard times.
But why have a cake to begin with if... Suddenly I noticed something. Huh? We were grouping the characters by squares, but are we sure that's really the right way to separate them?
What do you mean? I don't see how else we could do it.
I understand. You're saying to split each character in half, said the girl, putting a competent detective's notion into words. Bookworm picks up a pebble and scratches lines across the characters on the wall. The line looks like threshold. The lines look like thresholds, partitioning the boxes down the middle. The divisions are too neat for it to be a simple coincidence.
Oh, I get it now. So all the characters are meant to be divided horizontally?
Yeah, I believe there were actually 2 characters per box all along, but our preconceptions blinded us to it.
I see. That explains those partial patterns we saw. If we'd only noticed it sooner, we could have solved it already.
Irregularity should be easy to spot now. There's no time to lose, so let's begin, the girl said as she set to work on the cipher. And less than an hour later... Hold down the head and tail, so if we press the first and last box... And that's all it was. You could have just started pressing shit, and you probably would have done it by accident. She presses her fingers on the boxes at the ends of the writing on the wall, upon which surrounding walls start to change. The walls shift, revealing several new passages. Looks like she had the right idea. Spending so much time deciphering this, the group can't resist high-fiving one another. Why did I get a new keyword for that? It's the lexicon. There's so much. Okay, I don't even know which one it would be. Maze cipher? Oh, it's just explaining the cipher. Okay. Okay. It's like, we got a new keyword for high-fiving each other?
What was all that racket? An ambush? Are we under attack?
Bosch, who had been asleep up until now, leaps up, her eyes darting around the room. Safe to assume she has no idea that she helped us decode the cipher by sleep talking. Morning, Posh. We managed to solve the riddle thanks to you.
Thanks to me?
We all burst out laughing as she stares agape at the newly opened passage, her head cocked in bewilderment. We leave the cipher room and continue on our way, but the nearly identical passage just keeps going on with no end in sight. On top of that, something that's been nagging at the back of my mind is starting to become a central issue. Hey, Armor, how are we doing on water? At our current pace, we have enough to sustain us for 1 day more. So what you mean is, we only have 1 day's worth left. In this heat, that's going to be a serious problem. The heat is definitely plaguing us here. It was present from the beginning and is only steadily growing worse. It's like being in a volcanic rock sauna. We've been strict with how we ration our water, but now even that one hefty supply is under threat. At this rate, it's the temperature, not the quartering Duke, that's going to kill us all. This must be geothermal energy that's being emitted by the volcanic rock. Things should get better once we make it past this stratum. But we've been going around in circles for hours, haven't we? See, that's the mark we saw earlier. What do we do now? Renegade Detective's right. This is the umpteenth time we've passed through here. We've tried every fork and every path, but each of them has been a dead end.
We found that key for the research facility elevator in the dungeon, right? So we can at least assume we're headed that direction.
While that may be true, I recall the path towards Snarks being blocked by a wall, making it a blind alley, said the girl, sharing her recollection. So all roads lead to nowhere, huh? Bookworm, do you know any other ways of getting through mazes besides the left-hand rule? Bookworm shakes her head ruefully. The left-hand rule is an ancient maze-solving method where one keeps their left hand on a wall as they proceed. We tried it at the start when the labyrinth began to confuse us, but we just ended up back where we started, making it entirely pointless. If even Bookworm lacks any useful information to get us through this place, then we really are trapped.
Maybe there aren't any exits at all right now.
None whatsoever? How does that work?
We might have overlooked something. SPX and the cipher both provided hints, right? This maze is probably the same. There has to be a clue somewhere. I feel like the point here isn't to make us get lost, but to give us a riddle to solve.
A clue, huh? But there's nothing written on the wall, so where could it be?
Everyone, hide!
Doleful suddenly panics, urging us to take cover behind some pillars. We all understand it's an emergency and immediately follow his orders. My ears pick up something resembling a whisper, causing me to shiver. Heard this before. Huh? No.
Huh? There was a weird noise, but I can't see anything.
Shh, quiet down. It's an invisible SPX. Everyone stay calm and don't make a sound. The rim tone in my voice snuffs out any potential objection from the others. As we sit in the shadows of the pillars, we hear a mechanical whir that all of us recognize by this point. I can faintly discern a shape as the air distorts around it. Without a doubt, it's the invisible SPX I encountered last time. I don't know what'll happen if we're caught, but getting drawn into a fight and wasting our energy would be worse than bad. Our only option is to hold our breaths and pray it doesn't find us. Beep, boop, beep. Somehow the SPX doesn't notice us and departs. What a dangerous machine. This thing makes the white SPX look friendly by comparison. The only silver lining is that this SPX's capacity to detect targets is rather poor. Incompetent. I recorded the sound that machine was making just now. Let me try analyzing it. With that, Techie begins working his magic. And once he finishes... What do you suppose this means? The hint Techie uncovers is incredibly vague. Discard your theories. Discard your theories? It's not enough to go on. I can't tell what it's trying to say. Maybe it's a clue on how to stop that thing? Like with the white SPX. Any ideas, Bookworm? Not a one. I've seen similar phrases in what I've read, but nothing that's applicable to our investigation, said the girl with frustration. If Bookworm doesn't know, then this hint probably isn't based on anything specific. Judging from its behavior just now, its target sensing abilities are lacking. We should be able to avoid detection if we don't get too close. Okay, then let's keep going. It'll be a real trouble if that SPX comes back. Pull ourselves together and set out once more, but at that moment, Dolville lets out a cry of distress.
I'm so sorry, everyone. I sensed it too late.
Huh? What's wrong? Dolville, is the SPX nearby?
Nearby? No, it's there! Right there!
Huh? Really? Dolville points directly in front of me. You're the same robotic droning coming from what appears to be empty space. Practically face to face with it, even though the SPX from a minute ago should have passed by already. My hammering heart deafens me. I can't see a thing. I have no idea what I'm up against. But the mechanical noise continues without pause, like a hand on a clock counting down the remaining seconds of my life. Everyone freezes in place. It's the only option. We know nothing about the SPX before us, or how it will react to any action we take. Maybe nothing will happen so long as we stay still. I have no other choice but to hold on to this hope. And it's game over. But that hope is quickly crushed. Blades I've seen before suddenly spring up in the empty space. No matter how invisible it is, its killing intent remains clear. So overwhelming that by the time I try to dodge, I'm a moment too late. Then a blade descends toward me. Incompetent detective. Your bookworm's trembling voice, yet at this moment I find myself surprisingly calm. After all, the denouement never predicted my death. If I didn't see myself die, that means this won't kill me. I'm certain that he'll come to my rescue. Get down, Sir Incompetent. Thanks, Armor. As I predicted, Armor leaps in front of me. He deflects the SPX's blade with his right arm, using his hand to grasp at the wiry parts that controlled it. 'Tis but a flea compared to the black SPX. My armor shall not yield to so feeble a slash. Armor presses on, flinging the SPX against the wall. What incredible power. Sure, maybe the invisible SPX is a weaker output than the white one, but even then, Armor's strength is tremendous. Hey-ho, let us now cease its functions. As Armor approaches his fallen opponent, the air flickers where there had once been nothing. This must be the true form of the invisible SPX. How exceedingly bizarre! It hath revealed itself. Perchance it was moved by my chivalry enough to forbear its knavish tricks. Actually, I think it's just broken. 3 holes on its exteriors are now visible. If it's designed like the white SPX, one of them will deactivate it. We don't know which one. It's fine, I've already figured out its weak point. That gourmet approaches the SPX, brandishing her knife at the holes on its exterior. In the blink of an eye, she puts the SPX out of commission. Phew, this little troublemaker might have been slower than the white one, but it still made me nervous. I really worked up an appetite. Gourmet, how did you know which hole to pick? Yeah, pray tell. I thought we had yet to revel out this conundrum. Well, the SPX went after you. Techie analyzed the sound it made, but it was the same as the other invisible SPX. Discard your theories. They both had the same message? That's weird. White SPXs we've encountered so far each had their own phrase. And those ones were giving us hints on how to defeat them. Strange, isn't it? Oide, discard your theories. Distinctive series, dispose of sinking, dismiss your thinking. Perchance it means we are to destroy the invisible SPXs through brute force? Sorry, Armor, but let's try to be serious here. Actually, dismissing our thoughts was crucial. Wait, what? You think my conception was the earnest truth? Could this be a sign of the end times? Armor's actual conclusion is completely off the mark, of course. The big takeaway here is that the invisible SPX didn't have a real hint. In other words, we don't need any hints for these little invisible fellows. They weren't designed with only one correct hole to hit. No hint required, no right hole to aim for. So basically, we could defeat it regardless of which we attacked. Precisely. We're already unable to see it, so there's no need to go through all the trouble of having false holes as decoys. I didn't have any proof of that, so it was all a little nerve-wracking, but I'm relieved it all turned out fine. I performed a basic analysis of the invisible SPX's inner workings. All three holes connect directly to the power cord, just as Gourmet guessed. In short, so long as you can locate a hole, you can stop it easily, said the girl, relaxing now that she knew the irksome machine's vulnerability. Taking a bookworm finished reporting in. Their findings confirm what Gourmet told us. There's no difference between the three holes. Gourmet's right. Any SPX that plays this hint will have the same weakness. Her deductive prowess never fails to amaze me. However, one question still remains. You weren't entirely sure your theory was correct, though, right? Yep, I had no evidence to back up my reasoning. You really went for it, then, even though you could have died if you got it wrong. Gourmet's beaming smile turns plaintive. At the moment, all I could think about was how Rowdy wouldn't have hesitated. Oh. You're right. She'd never have given it a second thought. She'd risked it all, especially if it meant saving her friends. Without a doubt. I made a vow to protect everyone. That includes doing Rowdy's share of the work. So whenever there's trouble, come to me for help. I'll put my life on the line to keep you all safe. Although Gourmet smiles as she speaks, there's a sadness in her eyes. I can sense the deep hole losing Rowdy is left behind.
By what means does that SPX detect its prey, Techie? I'm preoccupied with how sluggish it was when it attacked Incompetent.
Well, my inspection suggests that its camera is not functioning. The lens would reflect light, coming into conflict with its invisibility. It's my belief that it senses targets via audio, hence why it reacts more slowly in comparison to the white SPXs. So it's attracted to sound, huh? Not sure whether to relax or be on my guard. On one hand, we don't need to hide in order to be safe, even in their presence. But on the other hand, every step we take will only give them more sound to find us with. This news is a mixture of good and bad. The girl notices something critical. Let's get moving, everyone. Quickly, said the girl, tugging insistently on incompetent detective's hand. Bookworm, what's got you so worried? Don't you get it? Armor detective made such a racket just now, with all his whooping and hollering. If those things are attracted to sound... Huh.
Everybody run! I sense a ton of threats heading this way.
Huh? There are that many invisible SPXs? Everyone, my soul brims with contrition. I have failed us yet again.
Blubbering will only bring our enemies down upon us faster. Be silent and let us escape with haste.
You make quite a racket yourself, you know, said the girl, slipping in a retort at the perfect moment. We flee from the SPXs, trying to move as quick as we can while making as little noise as possible. And we're still trapped in a scorching labyrinth with no way out, and no way of stopping the SPXs. Discard your theories, huh? Maybe it's time I finally accept my fate. Okay. I think I'm gonna take a quick break.
Alright, yeah, sounds good.